Welcome to this week's Ask the Gov. Let's begin. Our first question comes from Matthew. Matthew asks, why do you allow school funding bill to languish and now not show leadership in solving the problem? I actually made a recommendation for school funding under the supplemental state aid back the second day of the legislative session, and I made a recommendation for 2 years. Unfortunately, the House and the Senate have been fighting over this issue all year, and now they're talking about a 1-year funding program. I believe they need to resolve it for 2 years. I also would point out the state of Iowa is providing an additional $50 million each of the next 2 years for our innovative teacher leadership program. We're also providing additional money for the Reading Resource Center to make sure that all of our students can read by the time they finish 3rd grade, and we're providing additional funding to reward high achievers that go into teaching and stay and teach for at least 5 years, providing them a $20 million stipend. So my recommendation was that about 55% of the new money coming in during this biennium, $250 million, would go for additional funding for K through 12 education. I also recommended additional funding for the Board of Regents to provide a 3rd year in a row tuition freeze for our Iowa students attending our 3 state universities, additional funding for the community colleges, and for the Iowa tuition grant that helps Iowa students with financial aid needs go to our private colleges and universities. I'm very hopeful that the legislature will reach an agreement in the next few weeks and will provide funding for both this coming school year and the year after, so we don't have to have schools waiting to find out what their supplemental state aid will be next year like they went through this year. The second question comes from Sherry. Sherry asks, what is the state doing to stop the bird flu in northwest Iowa? I have declared a state of disaster for the entire state, and we are diligently trying to work together in a coordinated effort with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the Iowa Department of Agriculture, our Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, as well as several other state agencies like the DOT and other agencies in state government, the Department of Public Health, to try to find out what can be done. This epidemic, this flu epidemic for bird flu, has hit a number of states, including the state of Iowa, and because we have such a large number of laying hens and turkeys, it has hit our state really hard. We're trying to do all we can to try to prevent it and see if we can develop an appropriate vaccine that might be able to prevent birds from getting it and also disposing of the birds that have died. Third question comes from Roland. Roland says, would you sign a sales tax increase for the outdoors? I'm an outdoorsman and I support additional funding for the state parks, for water resources, and many other things, but I do not think that we should be raising the sales tax.